Iran Daily Briefing. Tuesday, May 5, 2026. The ceasefire broke overnight. U.S. forces moved into the Strait of Hormuz on Monday, sinking Iranian boats and escorting commercial ships through. Iran struck the UAE. A frigate may or may not have been hit by missiles. Tehran says yes, Washington says no. The early April ceasefire, which had held for roughly 3 weeks, is now in serious question. We will cover all of it. As of this Tuesday morning, the picture is this. Monday was the most kinetic day in the Strait of Hormuz since the early April ceasefire took effect. U.S. forces operated inside the strait under a mission President Trump calls Project Freedom. Iran conducted strikes on the UAE, the first attacks on UAE territory since that ceasefire, and a dispute has opened over civilian casualties that neither side is backing down from. The early April ceasefire had produced roughly 3 weeks without direct military confrontation. That changed Monday. Today we will cover what happened in the Strait, what happened in the UAE, what Iran's chief negotiator said this morning, and what the human rights cases now unfolding inside Iran tell us about the country's domestic posture as this crisis deepens. The Strait. What happened Monday? Let's go through the facts as reported, because there are genuine conflicts in what different parties are saying. Start with what is not in dispute. The United States military conducted an operation in the Strait of Hormuz on Monday to escort commercial vessels through. President Trump named it Project Freedom. U.S. forces fired on Iranian boats. The U.S. military says it sank 6 Iranian small boats and destroyed cruise missiles and drones as part of that operation. That is from NPR and Al Monitor. The result, according to France 24 and the BBC, at least 2 U.S.-flagged merchant ships successfully transited the strait. The BBC reports that a Maersk vessel, one of the company's U.S.-flagged commercial ships, exited the strait under U.S. military protection. Now here is where accounts diverge. Iran says U.S. forces struck 2 passenger boats, not the IRGC vessels, that is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. An Iranian commander, reported by Al Jazeera, made that claim Monday. Al Jazeera and Middle East Eye also report that Iran says 5 civilians were killed in the U.S. attack on those boats. The United States has not confirmed these characterizations, and the framing in U.S. military statements, as reported, refers to Iranian forces, not civilian craft. Both accounts are on the record. The conflict between them has not been resolved. On the frigate question, Iran claims it struck a U.S. frigate with 2 missiles. France 24 reports that claim. Washington flatly denied it, saying no U.S. vessel was struck and reiterating that 2 merchant ships had successfully transited. 2 accounts directly contradictory. We do not have independent verification of either. Iran's position, also from France 24, is that the U.S. operation constituted a violation of the early April ceasefire. Iran characterized the U.S. escorted transit as a breach of that agreement. The U.S. has not responded to that framing directly in today's sourcing. U.S. Marines from the USS Tripoli also boarded a vessel during Monday's operation. Fox News reports that Marines fast-roped from helicopters onto the deck of a suspicious container ship, Fox News's characterization, named the Blue Star 3, which was heading toward Iran. That is a single-source item from Fox News, and we note it as such. And U.S. Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz said Monday that the United States and Gulf Arab nations are drafting a UN Security Council resolution to condemn Iran for blocking the strait. That is from Al Monitor. What to watch? The central question following Monday is whether the U.S. intends to maintain a regular escort operation through the strait, or whether Monday was a one-time forced transit. Iran's response to the UN resolution draft, if it moves forward, will also be a significant data point on whether Tehran treats this week's events as a crisis requiring a diplomatic response or an escalation requiring a military one. Story 1. Iran strikes the UAE. Separate from the Strait operation itself, Iran struck targets in the United Arab Emirates on Monday. This is a significant development because the UAE had not been attacked since the early April ceasefire, according to France 24. Here is what the sourcing shows. France 24 and the Middle East Monitor report a fire broke out at a major UAE oil industry zone in Fujairah following a drone attack originating from Iran. The Times of Israel reports the UAE said 15 missiles and 4 drones were fired at its territory. The UAE military said it intercepted 3 Iranian missiles over its waters and a 4th crashed into the sea. That is from France 24. Middle East Eye reports that on May 4th, the UAE Ministry of Interior issued public alerts via mobile phone warning residents of potential aerial threats. The UAE said it had come under attack from Iran, confirmed by both France 24 and NPR. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait and Bahrain all denounced the Iranian strikes on the UAE, per Al Jazeera. Germany, the UK and Canada also urged Iran to return to talks. Al Jazeera reports that call was made in direct response to the Iranian attacks on the UAE. Dubai airports reported that March saw a 66% drop in passenger numbers as travelers chose to avoid the Gulf. A data point from Middle East Eye that shows the economic toll on the region is already substantial before Monday's escalation. What to watch? Whether the UAE formally requests any international response, and whether the Gulf states that denounce the strikes move toward coordinated action through the UN resolution the US is drafting or independently. Story 2. Ghalibaf's warning. This morning, Tuesday, France. 24th Eye reports that Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Iran's chief negotiator in talks with the United States and also the Speaker of Iran's parliament, warned that Iran has not even started in its standoff over the Strait of Hormuz. That is a notable statement. The man tasked with negotiating with Washington is publicly signaling on the morning after Monday's military confrontation that Iran sees its actions so far as restrained rather than exhaustive. Iranian Defense Council member Ali Akbar Ahmadian, separately reported by Middle East Eye, stated that Iran's security is non-negotiable and accused the United States of disrupting global maritime and energy stability. These are the 2 public Iranian voices this morning. Taken together, they do not suggest Tehran is looking to de-escalate following Monday. What to watch? Whether Ghalibaf follows his public statement with any formal diplomatic communication and whether Iran's posture at any ongoing diplomatic channel shifts in the hours ahead. Story 3. The Foreman sentencing. Iran International reports that British couple Lindsay and Craig Foreman have been sentenced to 10 years in prison, each on espionage charges in Iran. This is the first time the Foreman case has appeared in our sourcing. We have one source on this, Iran International, and no additional detail on timing of arrest, location of detention, or the specific allegations beyond the espionage charge. As a separate matter, following the Iranian strikes on the UAE, Germany, the UK, and Canada called on Iran to return to talks. That call, per Al Jazeera, was a direct response to the UAE attacks. The Foreman sentencing and that diplomatic call are both on today's record, but they are separate items. We report them without asserting a connection between them. What to watch? A UK government response to the Foreman sentencing. When British nationals are imprisoned on espionage charges, the Foreign Office typically issues a statement. None is in today's sourcing. Story 4. Kivani burial and domestic arrests. 2 items from the domestic human rights file. Iran International reports that security agents secretly buried the body of Kourosh Kivani, an Iranian Swedish citizen executed in March on charges of spying for Israel, in the Kavaran area outside Tehran. The report states the burial was carried out secretly. We report what the source states and do not add to it. Separately, Iran International also reports that Iranian security forces arrested a doctor and an anesthesia nurse from a hospital in Najafabad in central Iran on Saturday on security-related charges. No further detail on the specific allegations is in today's sourcing. On Narges Mohammadi, we have no new sourcing on her status in today's intelligence items. We will continue to monitor. What to watch on Kaivani? Whether Swedish authorities or the family issue a public response to the burial report. MV Tuska. Update. Following up on what we covered yesterday. The crew transfer to Pakistan, we reported, has not been contradicted in today's sourcing. We treat it as a completed step. The vessel and the broader blockade question remain open and unresolved as of this morning's intelligence. We opened this morning with the ceasefire breaking. Here is the fuller picture. The early April ceasefire had held for roughly 3 weeks. The UAE confirmed Monday was the first time it had come under attack since that ceasefire. Iran characterized the US escort operation as a ceasefire violation. The US has not accepted that framing. Both sides conducted military actions Monday. Both sides have public voices this Tuesday morning. Iran's Ghalibaf saying Iran has not even started. Washington moving to draft a UN Security Council resolution condemning Iran. The ceasefire's status is contested. Its practical effect on the ground, as of Monday, is in serious doubt. 3 things to watch in the next 24 to 48 hours. 1. The US escort operation. Monday established that US forces will operate in the Strait under Project Freedom. The question now is continuity. Does the US run another escort transit Tuesday or Wednesday? Iran has not said it will accept this as normal. Any repeat operation and any Iranian response to it is the next significant data point. 2. The UN Security Council resolution. US Ambassador Waltz said Monday that the US and Gulf Arab nations are drafting a resolution to condemn Iran for blocking the strait. Watch for that draft to surface formally and for Iran's allies on the Security Council to signal their position. 3. The UAE attack fallout. The UAE came under its first attack since the early April ceasefire. 15 missiles and 4 drones, according to the Times of Israel. The 4 Gulf states that denounced the strikes and the Western governments that called on Iran to return to talks have now taken public positions. Watch for whether any of those governments move beyond statements toward concrete action. Today's episode covered Monday's military confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz, Iranian strikes on the UAE, Ghalibaf's warning that Iran has not even started, the sentencing of a British couple on espionage charges in Iran, and the secret burial of executed Iranian-Swedish citizen Kourosh Kaivani. We will be back tomorrow with the next developments. If you found today's briefing valuable, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes every morning.